Hey, it's the fucking PRs. They're gonna fly through 100%. Me and Trog did rankings together, and then he was whisked away to uh bum world. I don't know. So I'm just gonna go through based on what like our combined rankings were, but then I'm only gonna be able to really roast teams on what I thought of them. So just like deal with it. Hey, in last place, get wrecked. It's David Ryan on the Tynamo Bucharesti. I don't even care. So I don't even know. We both ranked him in last, and I like my speed tier like rank was lower than it should be. But the dude only has Mamo as hazards, so like that's like pretty bad. And then everything else is pretty much okay. I didn't really like the setup on this team. I know that's kind of silly, but you have like Calm Mind Coco, Sword Stance, Scizor, like Calm Mind Latios, like somewhat built in Moltres setup. But there wasn't anything great. Like Latios can run Dragon Dance, which is kind of nice. But you didn't quite just have that like that Dragon Dance or that Quiver Dance or whatever. Like Moltres is like his best like setup sweeper or just like SD Bullet Punch. Um, Scizor, but there's honestly there's like nothing wrong with any of the teams in this division. By the way, like everyone's like scoring 80 plus overall for me. And usually I have teams that are like in like between 75 to 77. So like everyone's like 5% higher than what you would expect in a bad div. But I think David's team is just a little bit like there's just not a lot of cohesion here. Like water ice coverage, especially special water ice coverage, just kind of goes to town. He has like it's one of those teams where he has individually fun mons, but like I don't see the true like cohesion here. And he can complain all he wants, but it's just how it is. And also like these never reflect the coaches themselves. So obviously, uh, David can have a great team and suck. He can have a terrible team and do great. Doesn't matter. Hey, in next place is Lux's Hangzhou Sparkling Aria. And despite the fact that he has like Kieran Black Zama, and just like the classic Lux top heavy team. I didn't see a lot here that like I loved. Like speed tiers are fine, hazards are okay. Your removal is actually just thunderous. So like if you can like spike stack this team and not get ran over by like Kirim Zama Gardevoir, like if you can live long enough to spike stack, you'll be in pretty good shape. Um, and I had like some sort of like pseudo negative synergy here, but now I can't really remember what it was. Surprisingly, only one regen mon. Lux has fallen off actually. And then I didn't love his setup either. You're relying on Necrozma and like Thunderous to really set up and break. Like Zarude has like the bulk up set, Gardevoir can Calm Mind if it needs to, but I don't know. I guess we allow Howl Zama. I mean, it's just like all the setup is neck, which is fine because you have like good. It's one of those teams where it's like I'm sure like Lux is gonna fucking roll everybody with this team. I just like think like on like if you're just looking at the cohesion of the team, you're gonna see issues. And then it doesn't matter because like the Fairy Dragon Steel Core runs you over. So, there's nothing like wrong with any of these teams. Like I said, it's just like my arbitrary personal preferences bring up or bring down issues, whatever. So next up, we're just following it up. It's a deck and the Pelippool. So we both had deck pretty low. I'll show like the table at the very end of where we each individual me and Trog individually ranked people. We got a Pelippool here deck. I didn't like his hazards for like whatever reason. I'm assuming like Naga's not really setting up T spikes. Clef it can be tough to run rocks on. Gligar is not coming to a lot of matchups. Glalie not really running spikes. So he has like he has like decent hazard options, but like they're really hard to bring. Like you're really relying on Clef, and Clef is very very tough to bring rocks on. Just because of how wide his moveset is. You're going to be wanting to do other things. His offense is a bit underwhelming overall. I mean, you have like Naga AG, like don't get me wrong. And then I mean, you look at those base stats, it's just like Buzzwole strong attack, Incineroar strong attack, Buffalon, Glalie. But like Buffalo and Glalie like aren't coming all the time, and that's not like you can't just like look at, whoa, Glalie has 120 base special attack. Yeah, it can run Ice Beam. And his special attackers are really on the weaker side, so it's just Naga and AG. So like all his offense is Naga and AG for the most part. Like Buzzwole's running bulk, Incineroar's running bulk, Buffalon, Glalie. Well, Glalie not doing anything. So like it's just like tough. I think his offensive options are kind of weak. Like he can run offensive sets, but it's going to be a lot of bulky offense and not like Naga sweeping you. Like those are Naga is the sweeper. That's pretty much it. Besides like setup sets, but he does have decent setup. I think. Did I say that or am I a hypocrite? Nope. I don't love a setup either because it's also just Naga AG. I mean, like you have built-in setup on Buzzwole, the occasional. I don't know. He has like built-in setup. I don't know. The setup I probably could give him a better score on. The Clef can run Cosmic Power and stuff. Yeah, but that's about it. I'm just worried. I'm worried about his ability to break teams. Because he either has to rely on setup or just like hope Naga or AG can like kind of chunk and sweep. So I think he's missing a little bit of cohesion here, and I also don't like his scarf options. If you, I mean, or really his, I guess his speed tiers probably took a hit from that a little bit, but you have Naga that can be scarfed, and like the occasional scarf Buzzwole, the occasional scarf like Sherpa Rotom. I think his scarf options are pretty terrible here. But that's it. Moving on. Who cares? Next up is the Southland Stoutlands and Gremlin drafted another weird Grem team, sort of. This team's actually, this isn't even a Grem team. This is just a nonsense team. It's so weird. Like I kind of love it, but like it's weird as hell. For the in the rare form for Grem, he hasn't drafted great hazards here. Lycanroc, like very hard to run rocks on. Mega Swampert, like I guess so. Is he's just running like usually Pert's like running like dual stab, ice punch, flip turn, power up punch. Like you want to run those moves, but you can fit rocks on it if it's scaring something out. Um, and then Como, like bulky Como can be a good rocker, but also like again, sometimes you need to bring setup, sometimes you need coverage. So like none of his rockers are like the premium rockers, and I don't think he has any other types of hazards. I could be wrong. I could be stupid. So that's a lot of character for him. His removal's about just as bad. He has Torn and Eldegoss. So that's very bad removal. I mean, Eldegoss can at least spin. And Torn doesn't hate running defog, but usually it's knock, U-turn, taunt, hurricane, heat wave, stuff like that. Like defog's lower down on Torn's needs. So the hazards and removal on Grem's team are interestingly low, and it's also like there's not a lot of defense here. Como is very bulky. I mean like Como and Pert are his only mons with above base 100 physical defense. Like that's pretty crazy. A lot better like special bulk, just like built in, like Politoed, Eldegoss, and like Como again. But like his defense is like pretty bad here. Like this is like hyper with some bulky offense, but obviously he's relying on Screen's Grim. He's got some rain synergy here with like Genesect and Torn and all that. So like Spectre is going to sweep. So like the team can work. It's just one of those things where like it works in a very specific way, and if the user isn't comfortable or the rain or very heavy special offense like sweeping matchup isn't there. Um, if your longevity is put into question, no poison type to absorb like toxic spikes, and not great removal to get rid of them. You're really relying on Genesect and Torn in that situation. So I feel like the team just has holes. I don't think Grum's gonna like deny that or be offended, but um, a lot of like fun, like a lot of fun individual mods. I'm just like these are all like fun stuff, and it's definitely like end of gen. Like you use all the fun stuff strats, but that's how it goes. Just like defending our opinions. So next up, classic low ranked team and PRs. I don't know if that's true. I'm sorry. Is Luca's Philadelphia Fusion Flare. This one not crazy about the speed tiers. He has three very like Minior doesn't really even count, but he has Lop and Gren right next to each other, and then just a drop to Jirachi. And then from there 195, 80, whatever. Like it's not too bad, but just like those top end speed tiers are really weird. And like Ashgren's really not gonna run a scarf. Lopunny can't scarf. Like Jirachi is a classic scarfer, like Jirachi Chandelure. Like, I mean, Vanillux, he has like the budget rain there. Tox isn't really gonna scarf. Togekiss can scarf, just like scarf lunch stuff. So just got some issues there, especially in speed control. Don't love the hazards because it's Rachi and Spike's Golisopod. Anything else get hazards on this team? Oh, Greninja Ash gets regular spikes, but it can't get toxic spikes. A little unknown factoid: Greninja Ash, being an event exclusive, is unable to be bred for toxic spikes, which because you can't breed a Greninja with Battle Bond, so therefore it can't get toxic spikes. Who cares? Whatever. Rest is fine. I like his defense more than his offense. Am I looking at the right team? No, I like his offense more than his defense. Obviously, that makes a lot more sense here. Similar issue. Golisopod, a good physical bulk. Zygarde is bulky. Irachi, pretty bulky. Togekiss, some special bulk. Just a lot of like built-in like base 80s and 90s and defenses, but not like you know Lopunny has 94 and 96 in defenses, but you don't consider it bulky, right? It's like it doesn't add to the defense score of the team by having those kinds of stats. Um, it's just nice because it's a mega. So decent team. I think like awkward speed tiers, but he's got the flinch core and he's got some fun. He's got like fun stuff. Like everyone's got like fun stuff, and none of the teams are, like I said, bad. Um, Next up is my sworn enemy and hated rival, Bloodcrawler and the Lubin Larvatars. He drafted the classic Speed Boost Blaziken Garchomp that I tried to draft. But then he took Kartana, following like what Salty was drafted. But then he took Lele instead of Finny. And the end result is a mid team. So speed tiers are like kind of like stupid. Like Cart and Chomp are both physical attackers right next to each other. Excelgor and Jolteon are like super fast and don't come, and their speed doesn't like add like when you have like these base 130, 145 speed mons that like aren't like major role players in the game. Like it's nice to have Excelgor. You can outspeed stuff. You can do like unburden strats, but like Excelgor is not like coming here to like revenge all of their fast attackers. I mean, Excelgor is a good example because it can revenge like all like the Latis and like Weavile and shit. But um, yeah, so I don't know. Like speed tiers are a little awkward, but he has built-in speed control. Speed with Blaziken naturally balances out hazards and removal. Totally fine. Another like weak defensive team. Cart obviously built in Fizz Def. Mega Stoice and Kofag are, and sort of Regirock are his big like defenders, and then special defense is like really lacking. You got AV, Kecleon, you got like Spadef, Blastoise, but just like not a lot of active recovery either. The Kecleon can recover, Stoice isn't recovering, and Kovac has to pain split, which is iffy, and Mandibuzz is actually really good. I kind of overlooked Mandibuzz, so maybe defense isn't even that bad on this team. But fuck you, your score gets hurt anyways. Trog actually ranked Blood lower than me. I put Blood at 9th. I don't actually know what number we're at. I'm not counting. Oh, actually, I can look. He averaged out to 10th. I can't read this either because my picture, the scores got messed up because ranking got included in the shuffle and it's supposed to just always be 1 through 10, so it makes it hard to read. I don't even care anymore, dude. I need to change how I'm sitting because it's destroying my body in real time. Ugh. Okay. Next up is Gray in the Vancouver Titangs. This was one where Trog roasted the team and I had him in 8th, so get over it. Let's see where are we at here with Gray. What's he got going on here? Speed tiers are weird. You have like the fastest mon of all time. You have Polt, and then you go from Polt to like Tauros, which is a patch and a half. Tauros is very good and viable in the 110 speed tier. Like it's not like oh, I drafted Perugly to fill in the speed tier. Like that shit doesn't count. Um, but yeah, like Pult to Tauros to Victini is definitely going to give this team some speed issues. I mean, Alecki can obviously revenge, but I suppose like a rock polishing ground type or a matchup where Alecki is terrible, you get a good Dragon Dance up against this team. It's gonna be very hard for Gray to deal with. Anything else? Removal I said was bad because it is Spin Alecki and Spin Turt and Defog Guno. Is that what we're looking at here? That's pretty bad. I stand by that rating. And all the mid defense teams seem to be showing up. I mean, he's got like some decent like phys def here. Tyranitar is like super bulky. Chestnut physical bulk, still steel is annoying as hell. But at the same thing, not like almost no active recovery on this team. Um, just some like built-in bulks, seeds, steel, synthesis, chestnut, but you have like some sand as an option. So otherwise he's gonna be like resting a lot, which is fine. He doesn't have like wish pass. So like I don't know, the longevity of the team is called into question. Bad remove, iffy removal makes hazards a big issue. So just a handful of holes. But of course he has like Pultini, and Steela and T-Tar Mega. So like, what do you really do against this team? It's one of those things where it's like if you don't happen to have like the right weapons to deal with this team, yeah, it's gonna like screw you over. His like the holes in his team don't matter when the holes in your team are exploited. Um, Twice as fast. Next up, hey, in whatever place, Deportivo Primarina. This is Juancito Marvel. And his team, I had in 10th, so I had like Blood, Juan, and Gray all like next to each other, anyways. So like the combo of scores didn't make a huge difference here. Um, Here his biggest issue probably also hazards and removal. Your hazards here are Donphan, reliable, Tyrantrum, less reliable, and that's it. You got two rockers, nothing else. And then Donphan is also your removal with rapid spin. And then you have Defog, Scizor, and I think Spin Mr. Mime as backup. So that's a little bit iffy. And then I'm not in love with the speed tiers because it goes Zera to Persian, which I think is a patch, and then a big like huddle around 100. PZ at 90 is not too bad, but then you go from PZ to Tyrantrum. So there's just like a few holes there. And Zera Aura is your main like speed, and then after that it's Bucephalon. So a little bit of concern there. Like it's not terrible speed tiers, but that's enough to compared to other teams to run into some issues. Everything else about the team is good. He's got some fun offense. He's got a regen core. He's got some wish passing, cleric stuff. So like the team's pretty well rounded. So I don't see too many issues besides like few hazard options and removal options. It'll keep you out of that aspect of the game. So if you're playing someone with a ton of good hazards, you're forced into your iffy removal, and if you're not able to get those rapid spins off or what have you, it just puts you in a rough spot for those specific matchups. So next up is, look at his name, Tippy in the Bristol Bewears. So this team was our first like major difference. I had him in 4th, and Trog had him in 10th. So that's a big swing. Into 8th average. So yeah, hashtag blame Trog as always. This team I didn't really have any issues with. I think removal, and it's not the bulkiest team. I mean, it kind of is. But I didn't like that. It's Latios and Blastoise and Thundurus as removal. Not like the worst thing of all time. But Latios is like never gonna run Defog, and Thunder's barely wants to run it. So it's really just Blastoise mainly. So it's just like a slight, less ideal. You have one Mon that can be a removal, but when you're only removal, it's a spinner. That's like an issue for like good ghost types. If you're facing like a Jellicent or something, you're kind of screwed. And then defense, it's one of the last middle bulk teams. So I mean, you have Latios Mega built in bulk and can recover. You have like Intimidate, Blastoise is bulky, and then you just have like P2. So I just thought it seemed like it's not terrible, but like think of like fighting and rock coverage just slaughter this team. I know you have Latios Mega, but just like so hard to switch into a fighting type with rock coverage on this team. So that's gonna be some concerns, but otherwise, I mean, like offense is it's great. Um, oh gosh, I was looking at the wrong team for a second. Offense is great. I see no issues with like Parties or setup or Scarfers. This team has infinite setup. You have Shell Smash, Nasty Plot, Swords Dance, Speed Boost. Like every mon's just setting up out the wazoo. You have freaking Ninetales Alola to let everything set up. So great synergy there. Like that's why I like this team. But Trog saw something he didn't like and tanked him, and he's not here to defend himself. So I get to call him Smelly or whatever like thing he likes to do. So in like seventh or whatever this is going to be Gort Bilbo in the Old English ESQ. So this is another team. I had this team in third, and Drog had them in 11th. So there's a handful of these things that just get messed up. Um, but so the main issue with this team, the only issue with the team I really saw was like hazards. I didn't love. And I think you can see this. You have reliable rocker Registeel and unreliable spiker Diggersby. And that's pretty much it. I mean, plenty of removal, accessible removal, plenty of pivots, a good balance of offense and defense. I think there's a lot of mons here that are like. I feel like if this team were actually in third, where I tried to put it, like you would see a lot of mons that just like don't do it for you, like in particular. Like not everyone is really likes Diggersby. Salamence, same thing. I mean, Ursh is kind of broken. Like Zapdos Gar, not a problem, but like Mega Bro, not like most common Mega. Comfy, a lot of people like and dislike. So there's not like a ton of like overwhelming like Mons here. It's a pretty well balanced team, but for me, it just checked off all the boxes. He has lots of options for in building every week, and I think like for me, that's generally more important. Like if you have a good squad where it's like you're top heavy, your Lux, and you have like a core of like 3 or 4 mons, and it's like, well, if you can't beat these, you lose, and it's like that does work. But in my opinion, or not even in my opinion, my personal preference is to have as many options as possible in building. So when you're facing a team with a lot of hazards, hey, I can run good removal this week. Next week, I don't have to. I'm not relying on that. You know what I mean? So like the more options you have in building, the more you're able to defeat any given team. But every team is going to have holes. They're going to have like 2 or 3 mons that you're just like bad against. Or there's plenty of matchups where you can just bring a Zapdos with dual stab and roost, and like they'll never like break it, and they also like can't switch into it. You know what I mean? Just like certain mons just do that, and certain teams just have that about them. But I like this team a lot, and Trog did not. So here's here's I think the worst difference. This team is in 6th, and it's because Trog put him in 2nd, and I put him in 11th. So we averaged out to 6th. This is Brownie and the Green Bay Yampers. I mean, you can see the presence here. Obviously, Darkrai and Mega Maw, like those are just like run you over. You have good like bulk utility setup in Rotom Dragonite. You have some good speed in Azelf Crobat. And then you have some good low point bulk in like Swampert, Vileplume, and Licky. So he's got a little bit of everything. But my concern with this team, because I'm the one talking, is speed tiers for some reason. So Crobat, Azelf, and Darkrai are all nice and fast, and then you have a big old drop to like Frogadier, which doesn't even count, and then a drop to Rodon, which is going to be bulky a lot of the time. So you're really kind of just dropping from Azelf to Dragonite, which in the average matchup, and even then, sometimes Dragonite wants to be bulky. Like you don't have a lot of like mons that actually even want to run speed after your top 3. So if you're feeling forced to run speed and Dragonite and Rotom, like that's kind of an issue. So outside of that, the base I know this is like an absurd thing to say, but the base offense on this team is a little bit lackluster. Like yeah, you have Darkrai, and yeah, you have Mega Maw, and then you have Azelf, and then you have like Dragonite and Pert. But like Dragonite's really not like coming in here and like clicking a move and claiming lives. Like Dragonite's good because it's like got multi-scale, it's got really good coverage, like you don't know what it's running. But it's not like, oh, Dragonite's just gonna click outrage every time and kill your whole team. Like that's what Mega Maw is gonna click play rough every time and kill your whole team. And then Surfetch is gonna be difficult to bring into matchups. So I don't know. Like I could be like underrating special offense, but it really seems like Azelf and Darkrai are the only ones that are special attacking, and Rotom's gonna have to rely on setup. Vileplume just has nice like Sludge Bomb hits, but it's gonna be bulky naturally. So I mean, I can see why this team was high. I probably underrated it, and Trog may have overrated it. He may even be right. But we'll move on because I'm just doing these, so people know they're done. I don't know. Next up is Ellie and the Shanghai Dreigons. This is fifth and sixth, so me and Trog both thought this team is pretty solid. Leaves are in fifth overall. And I mean, you got Mega Dancy, Rilla, Melmetal, Nido Queen, Moltres, just like Greninja, just a bunch of like really good mons that are very hard to deal with. I think there's some like considerations here, like Rillaboom is gonna make like flying types really good, and I mean Dancy is nice for that at least, but then and Melmetal switches into flying, but then you have like Lantern, it's your electric type, like you're not like amazing. Like if Rillaboom's getting walled, like you don't have a ton to do about it, but I think it's a decent team for the grass synergy. I mean, like it's not super. I mean, it's weak to ground. Obviously, you have Queen Metal Dancy, but you also have Moltres, you have Mesprit, and you have Rillaboom itself. So you're like if this team, if Rillaboom was just like a really good grass type and didn't have Surge, you wouldn't really be like, oh, this team's so weak to ground. You'd be like, this team as weak to ground as your average team. But I think it just works overall. Removal is pretty bad. I think you're just relying on Moltres here. I'm not sure she has any other removal besides like Magic Bound Dancy, and that's not, obviously strict removal. Um, and not the greatest setup. You have like Swords Dance Rilla, Calm Mind, and Speed Boosting Dancy, and like Swords Dance Mienshao. So pretty lackluster, I'd say, on the setup. But I think just a lot of good, a lot of like classic mons. That just will do work, and so it's just fifth place, top third. Um, kind of just looks like an Ellie team. I'm sorry. So hey, next up is a very creative name and the Seaside Smeargles. We like to talk very up, but not the greatest of last season. I think he missed playoffs just barely, and then we don't talk about PGP. But I had him in sixth. Troggs had him in third, so we both agree that the team's like at least solid. So he has terrain synergy, Lando, Mew, like a little bit crowding in the speed tiers, but that's just like that's a nasty combo. Mew with a million setups and options. Lando just special breaking. I think my issue with his team is the physical presence. I would imagine if I look here, yeah, I rated the offense a little bit lower. Just because your base physical offense is Braviary, Kyurem, which is gonna be special a lot of the time, Electros, which is gonna like all his physical attackers are mixed attackers. That lean special. Like you have set up physical Lucia, but I think the physical presence on this team is very very much lackluster, and that's I think the biggest thing hurting it. Otherwise, pretty good overall. Kyurem in Dragon Train isn't like the worst thing. Kyurem's really relying on ice and ground coverage a lot of the time. Like you can drop Dracos, but even when you run like a physical Dragon Dance set, you're still kind of relying on Icicle Spear and stuff. So it's not a anti synergy, and of course he has whatever it's called Lucha to set up and win games on its own. So just a solid team overall, not really missing much. Which brings us to third place, which is the New York Googans. Are you not on here? New York Metagross, Kosh by Rico Master. I'm sorry. So Trog had him in first, and I had him in seventh. So he got brought up to third from that, yeah, he brought up to third from that. Which you can't complain about too much. I mean, Mega Lade, King Galar, Hydreigon, so Leon, like those first four, pretty broken. Volcanion, I love. Swallow's great. Shaman's okay. I'm kind of sick of using it. Seismitoad good. Like every mon on this team is good. It's serving a purpose. 3-point Fortress is kind of like disgusting. Another team where I wasn't thrilled with the speed tiers. Swallow is like at least you have it. Um, Gallade decent. To Hydreigon. Like there wasn't too much bad here. Then you go from Hydreigon to Rotom, which is like tough to run speed on, and he has nothing in the 80s. So his like lower speeds are a little bit suspect. Like when you're playing like something like a Finny, like you kind of have to run some extra speed, some speed at least on like Hydreigon to like deal with it. But like none of your bulk is really gonna want to run like enough speed to try to pace like a Finny when you're, like Seismitoad's like the closest one. You have to run like 160 EVs to beat like base, no speed investment. So, that'll cause issues for you. Otherwise, removal is awesome. Hazards are good. No complaints about the stats of this team. Only other concerns I had were his priority and his scarfers. You have Scarfy Dragon, great. You have like Scarful Canyon, which you can run, cool. Scarf Rotom and maybe Trick Stuff, yeah. And other than that, you're just looking at like Sucker Punch by Sharp, like Shadow Sneak, Gallade. You have those priority options, but the Scarfers are, in my opinion, like you're gonna be bringing Scarfy Dragon a lot, especially when your base 110 is your Mega and can't be scarfed. So like base 100's like scarfing is like a big issue for this team because they'll pace high Dragon and go from there. I'm getting bored. Okay. In second place, this is technically a tie, and I cheated and went off my own preferences. This is the All-Mightyenas, coached by Pepe. I had him in second, and Trog had him in fourth, which averaged out to a tie for first between us. This is like a classic, like this gen team. You have like Darm to break stuff. You have Gliscor Slowbro, which is like besides Bolt Beam is like impossible to break, but then you just have Floor just right next to it. You have like really weird late sand with T-Tar Exca, so you're just gonna be like sweeping teams. Of course, you're gonna look and you're gonna notice that the main issue with this team is special attackers. You have Delphox, you have special Mega Absol. You're like the special presence on this team is a huge issue, and that's why part of the reason I didn't want to give it first. But otherwise, I mean, speed tiers, hazards, removal are great. You're not, your base stats are all fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with this team. Because your physical offense is like kind of like so overwhelming, and you have setup to back it up. And you still have like T-Tar and Slowbro to like do some decent special attacking. Um, like yeah, like Noivern and Savali, they were gonna run special moves, but it's not super strong. So like that's like the only thing wrong with this team is if maybe something like I don't even know, man. What am I looking at? If I guess like if Breloom could have been like a good special attacker, just like in Magic Theory. Like I know grass, there's no good special grass fighting, but just like one of those types of mons that's just like it's a strong physical presence that doesn't really need to be there. It's there for like the typing and the utility for being like a spore or a ground resist, a priority user. So like Breloom fits the team really well because if it were like a special attacker that could do all the same stuff and just run like vacuum wave instead of Mach Punch or something, like this team would be like amazing. But alas, that's what makes it come up just a little bit short, but still very good team. Me and Trog agree on that. Which leaves in first place the Boulder Dragobolts, coached by John Kai. I mean, look at this team. Did Gray draft this? Because it's like the same kind of stuff. But Lando, Weavile, Keldeo, Heatran, just like a bunch of good top tier threats. Staraptor, Mega Alt, good. He has 100 flying types, which would be like the only thing to like kind of mess this team up because he has 4 when alt is pre-mega. But I mean, in spite of that, his only real issue is that he doesn't have the best removal to come with it. All his removal is his flying types that are all like weak to rocks and like Mega Alt and Mantine can run Defog pretty easily. Staraptor and Lando don't want to run it, so it's not the best removal. Like he would need better removal. Like on a normal team, like those 4 being your removal, it's like but like when your ground type doesn't resist rock, your steel type doesn't resist rock, you're just relying on Caldeo to resist rock. You need better removal even past what he has. So everything else, hazards are great. Offense and defense are amazing. Priority Scarfer setup. I just have it. I heard his removal and his synergy score, because he has so many flying types. But no, his team just has like a million threats. Like trying to switch into Lando and Weavile, and then also Keldeo and Heatran and Mega Alt and Vikavolt and Roserade and Alakazam, and even like in Rock a little bit. Like the offense on this team is crazy, but he also still has really good bulk and defense. Like Lando and Heatran are very hard to break. Mega Alt can be very difficult to break defensively as well. Mantine is a lot of active recovery. Like defensive stats aren't like amazing, but he has the active recovery to back it up. Between like Vika, Mega Alt, Roserade, Mantine, Wigglytuff for Wish Pass. You know, it's just like this team's got everything. Like he has 100 flying types, but he kind of makes it work. So that's it. Let me see if I can pull up like a working version of this. This is it, right? Are we? This is even the right like thing? What's happening here? Why is this wrong on mine? Was it never wrong? No, where's this 7? No, hold on. Okay, hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, that was messed up. I was referencing this on my phone. It was really confusing me. So this is our like overall ranks and stuff like that. So really just like if after I've talked, just go to the end of the video, which is now. So I can't give you this advice. It doesn't make sense. Um, David probably could jump around from my scores because I relooked at his speed tiers and I rated them lower than I probably should have. All of these teams can jump around. Really, partly because you can see where me and Trog didn't really agree. And also like on my scores, the scores ranged from 80.9 to 85.95. So there's a 5% range between these teams, and I've had other ones that were like freaking I have teams that are ranked like 76, 77, and then like 87 or something. So it's like, there's a lot more basically about twice as much. I don't know, whatever. Who cares? It's PRs. It's subjective. The season's already starting, so like, if like Lux is 3-0, David's 0-2, so like, literally this means nothing. But I wanted to get this video out, so thanks for watching, and sorry, no Draco Meteor ones. Maybe you'll get like a little picture, but I'm not doing another division, especially one I'm in. So thanks for watching. Whatever, I don't care. Yell at me if you want. That's fine.